how we can survive. We float by each other like ghosts every day, ignorant to the struggle, the fight with one another. Complacent with the fact that our systems are broken, with the fact that the top 10 will always be first in line, the fact that we are killing our planet and allowing them to keep us divided. We must stand together and rise up. It's time we wake up, and that is a difficult truth.
Welcome to the Thursday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Thursday morning. Hey Memmius, how's it going? Tomato. Tomato. We do have a couple of headlines to go through, and then we will continue our meticulous task of trying to get through the technical summary of the IPCC report. We'll see how far we can get, but we do have a couple of headlines to go through. Hey Darknet, how's it going? Howdy. Alright, so someone the other day complained that I wasn't going to cover the the Cyber Symposium. So here we are. The embarrassing culmination of this obvious nonsense resulted in this. Let's see if we can pull up that video.
Republican counties are being won by Trump. Republican counties are being won by Trump, but by a much smaller number than projected. And then you have Philadelphia much closer and able to do its thing, because Rudy Giuliani will tell you Philadelphia is the kingpin of election fraud. But it wasn't possible without stuff like this. Republican counties are being won by Trump, but by a much smaller number than projected. And then you have
that's him leaving the stage.
Philadelphia much closer and able to do its thing, because Rudy Giuliani will tell you Philadelphia is the kingpin of election fraud. But it wasn't possible without stuff like this.
The reason for that is, well, the $1.3 billion lawsuit against Mike Lindell is going to be allowed to go through. Honestly, I think what's really happening is that this guy is slowly losing it, deteriorating like mentally, and I don't mean that like I mean that in a literal sense. He's got enormous pressure. He's about to be sued by Dominion for $1.3 billion. His business is being taken off shelves. I mean, he's about to go down really badly in terms of his business, money. So he's losing it. He's slowly losing it, and has deluded himself into creating this false alternative reality of somehow the election being different. Of course, during this entire 72-hour thing, there was no any type of real evidence that was presented. So yeah, this is the culmination of that symposium, Cyber Symposium or whatever. It's really sad. It's really embarrassing, and I hope he gets help and just gives it up. Right? It's over. Looks like Linda will be getting happy hump day. FDA poised to okay third vaccine dose for immunocompromised people. The Food and Drug Administration is poised to amend the emergency use authorizations. Oh boy. Oh man, this is gonna cause a poop storm, I know that. I could hear it now. I could hear it now. For the Pfizer and Moderna COVID vaccines on Thursday to allow people with compromised immune systems to get a third dose, according to 2 sources familiar with the plans. Wait, today is Thursday. Yes, today is Thursday. I had to double check. I literally thought we moved in time. I think Memmius, I literally had the same thought right before I started stream. Like, is the simulation broken? Hold on, is this a glitch in the simulation? Like, I'm not even kidding. Right before I started stream, as I was making the title, I almost put, and I kid you not, I wish there was a camera, like a GoPro on top of my head so you could see me type out hump day, and then realizing it was Thursday, but thinking that, wait, what happened to Wednesday? I kid you not, this line of thought was exactly the same, Memmius. I'm starting to think that the simulation is broken. There's no other explanation. The move would come after a panel of advisors to the CDC met in Juland? Oh, hold on. This is a way, like... This is a really bad typo. Jesus Christ, NBC. Met in July and urged action on extra doses for immunocompromised adults. Doctors say it is increasingly clear that many such patients are still vulnerable to COVID following vaccinations because they may not mount an effective immune response to the shots. So this idea was floating around for a bit. They just weren't sure, but it seems like now they have the data to back it up. For specifically immunocompromised folks, it seems like the 2 dose shot only provides it doesn't provide the same protection that it would to, for example, someone who wasn't immunocompromised, and that is the concern for this, and that's why they're probably going to approve that very soon. It feels like I lost a day for sure. It could be a glitch. I think it's a glitch in the simulation because I honestly thought it was Wednesday. I thought it was Wednesday. I don't know where the heck Wednesday went. An estimated 2.7% of adults in the US are immunocompromised, according to the CDC. It is unclear which groups would be covered under the expected FDA action. Immunocompromised patients include organ transplant recipients, people undergoing cancer treatment, and people with HIV, among others. Organ transplant recipients, for example, must take medications to suppress their immune system so their bodies do not reject the new organs. One small study of these patients found the majority never developed antibodies to the coronavirus after vaccination. The others only developed low levels of protection. Right, so this is exactly what we were talking about. In that study from Johns Hopkins University, a third dose increased their antibody levels. A boost in immunity would likely be welcome to those who never had a good response from the first 2 shots, as doctors have continued to advise such patients to continue with physical distancing and masks despite the vaccinations. True. The emergency use authorization does not include fully vaccinated, otherwise healthy people. Both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines have been shown to be highly effective at preventing hospitalization and death in them. CDC advisory group is scheduled to meet Friday when it will vote when it may vote on whether to officially recommend a third shot for immunocompromised people. The panel's sign-off is needed before doctors can start prescribing extra doses. Such a vote is only done after the FDA takes regulatory action, such as the expected amendment to use emergency use authorization. Yeah, so last week, the Mississippi Department of Health recommended immunocompromised people to receive an additional vaccine dose, despite the fact that federal health officials had not yet signed off on it. So it looks like it might become a thing. We'll see. We will see.
Bernie Sanders is
Bernie-
a socialist. Actually,
Bernie
he spent his
Sanders.
honeymoon in Moscow, so you really call him
Socialism.
a communist.
The Christian
Communism.
Broadcasting Network flipped out at the
Words I don't really understand,
idea of helping the sick.
but it sounds scary.
You know, just as Jesus would do. So this is going to be. Of
Wait,
course,
I'm sorry.
Pat
I was messing around.
Moscow, so you really call him a communist.
The Christian Broadcasting Network flipped out at the idea of helping the sick and needy. You know, just as Jesus would do. So this is going to be, of course, Pat Robertson, who's a staple on the Christian Broadcasting Network, and Gary Lane, who I guess is part of their news division. Didn't know they had a dedicated news division. But here you have these two discussing the budget reconciliation bill that is Bernie Sanders led. And they are
That's exactly what I
discussing the
said.
details of this bill. And
That is exactly what I said, Darknet. I think KTS told us that he cut his hair for some reason. I know.
as you can see, they are not happy.
Gary, can you give us a few of the salient horror stories that are embedded
Rip
in
Red
this
Tube
terrible
Jesus.
budget?
Well, Pat, one thing they want to do is expand Medicare. That was something that Sanders always wanted. His
Oh, no.
thumbprints are all over this legislation.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Expanding Medicare? Oh no, the horror. The absolute horror.
Proposed legislation, universal pre-K, child
No. What? Universal pre-K education? What?
care, community
Childcare? Oh no.
college, elder care, according
Elderly care? This country is going to hell in a handbasket, I tell you.
they've always talked about doing away with student loans. But when it comes to Medicare, they want to lower the age. They want to expand it to include things like eye care, dental care, so forth.
No way.
And in addition to that, Pat,
No
one big
way. They want to add eye care and dental care? Wow. This is just like, this is the absolute like worst case scenario. This is literally the worst case scenario that could ever happen. It's not like every single other country has these type of things as like kind of a standard issue. Like, I don't know, but like this is like beyond parody, to be honest. I don't even know how to satirize this. I really don't. This is beyond parody.
thing on Sanders' list has been paid family medical leave. Now, right now,
Paid family medical leave. Yeah, like, you know, literally every other country has. Helping children under communism now. True.
you can leave, take family leave, and go for 12 weeks, I
No
guess,
way.
and still come back to the same position
No
that you
way,
had on the
damn.
job, but it's not paid.
It's not even paid. Wait. What? In like literally every other country, it's like paid family leave. Wow. Yes, that's right. Preschools to teach communism. Correct.
Imagine paying people for not being productive. Small businesses will not be able to afford that. You combine that with increases in the minimum wage, they'll be shutting their doors.
If you can't provide a living wage and you can't provide the ability for a person to sustain themselves on said wage or benefits, then what the fuck is the point of a job?
Well, it looks like Bernie Sanders is a socialist. Actually, he spent his honeymoon in Moscow, so you really call him a communist. But it looks like the left, the so-called squad with AOC and Bernie Sanders, are pretty much running the government right now. Am I right in that?
This is literally Donald Trump in like 10 years. Easy clap, true.
Oh my God. The fact that people watch this and think they're being educated, ugh, it is
I mean,
both,
like, what do you say to this? Hey, Taco Bellmont. I'm sorry, I didn't say hi to you. What do you say to this? Like, uh, uh, wait, helping people bad? Moving ourselves just as a basis, providing some type of like benefits for people that work full time, that are productive members of society, that work 40 hours a week, more sometimes. Wait, what? It shakes the hierarchy when you help the working class. Come on now, but does it though? Like, imagine, is it like earth shattering that folks have access, like folks have like a universal healthcare system? Is it really? Is it really that like earth shattering? I don't know. I don't feel like it would be that earth shattering. Like, this is like standard procedure for literally every other country. It's like that's the sad part, right? Like, we could have a universal healthcare system, and it won't like it's literally not like a big deal, okay? Every other country has this. Correct.
Disturbing, but also can't help but laugh at just the absurdity of it all. Yeah, Bernie Sanders, a communist, the guy that is just a social democrat, looking at countries like Canada, Sweden, Norway, wanting to guarantee healthcare to everyone. Crazy communist Bernie Sanders. Now, let me get to some of the points made.
This is why nobody takes him seriously when they like, you know, when they just literally call everything that they don't like, which is really strange, considering that they're supposed to be Christians or whatever. I don't know. Maybe there's something more to that. But they literally call everything that they don't like, which is like helping people, communism.
Here, so first I want to give credit here to Case Study QB,
tax the
who
church
found
is true.
This clip, as he breaks down there some of the points they mentioned in that clip: expanding Medicare, universal pre-K, child care, elder care. Like, at the very least, you think their audience would care about elder care,
right?
and wanting to expand elder care.
The thing is, like, most elderly folks are perfectly happy and content with their Medicare. So yeah, that's why Medicare has never gone away, because A, it's incredibly like popular among like elderly folks, and B, said elderly folks are the ones who get out there and vote more often than not, right? So yeah, to touch Social Security and Medicare in a very upfront way is a no-no, is a politically suicidal like move, right, in terms of politics. Hey, Silver Knight Dragon, thanks for the follow, by the way. I believe yesterday. Thank you. Christianity is conflated with capitalism in the U.S. prosperity churches. Yes, I see that. That's a very good point. I remember Christian Jesse Peterson saying he hates socialism because it means you want to help the people. Wait. Accidentally given away the plan, right? You hate socialism because it means you want to help people. That's literally not what that means, but sure, if that's what you tacitly want to admit, that's generally speaking what like left-leaning people like to do, then yikes, what does it say about you?
Care, because that is their audience largely, but I guess they don't even, they're so into their own bullshit that they don't realize that even they may be turning off some of their viewers. Or maybe I'm so wrong that even their elderly population that watches
debating Pac-Man.
This network are going to be bothered by helping the elderly. But considering how often people vote against their best interests, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. So it just, I mean, before I get to anything else, I mean, the obvious criticism here, the obvious commentary here is that this is
Morning,
the
morning.
Christian Broadcasting Network, and they're complaining about helping people.
Right. Like, okay, so the reason why I found this incredibly interesting, and I appreciate Xenoplanes for putting this on the Discord, is exactly, I made a statement on the Discord a while back, I think like 2 weeks, whatever, a couple weeks ago, I'm not sure exactly when, saying like, you know, the CBN is not interested in A, making real news, and B, this is exactly why I don't like pulling articles from them.
Complaining about expanding healthcare, complaining about helping children, complaining about helping the elderly. How can you possibly call yourself the Christian Broadcasting Network and then advocate for the opposite of what Christians, or at least Jesus, advocated?
Easy. Turn off all kind of critical thinking, common sense, and it becomes very easy to do these things. You can hold simultaneous positions that are contradicting when you don't critically evaluate what they're saying. When you don't critically evaluate what they're saying and why they're saying it. So yeah, it's like that.
For it is so completely insane, and we have to be clear here. This is not all religious people. This is not all Christians. This is just a certain sector of the religion that is basically just fascists that disguise themselves as Christians.
Hold on, I don't know about that. But these these religious zealots, these fundamentalist folks, these prosperity churches, as Silver Knight brought up, they're just doing it for that reason, right? Because it brings them money. I mean, like that's really what it is. At the end of the day, it's one giant grift. Do you think that these people actually believe anything that they're saying? I don't know. I don't think so. Yes, Christianity, generally speaking, generally speaking, especially fundamentalist Christians, are authoritarian. Very authoritarian. Yeah, like fundamentalists are very authoritarian. And I would say that. They do it because it's a giant grift that brings them money. I mean, that's what it is, right? Isn't that one of those prosperity pastors who like ask folks for money all the time in like these like very cult-like videos and very cult-like sermons? I'm pretty sure that's him. I'm pretty sure that's him. Hey, Memo. Pat Robertson's part of the charismatic movement, which have some weird beliefs. Yeah, well. For the low price of $2 a month, I will share a great new religion with you. True. Yes, it can be Lemmius. The world doesn't need religion. I think that, like, the world doesn't need this fundamentalist, organized, like, religion. I mainly have, like, problems with fundamentalist, like, Abrahamic religions that are like super totalitarian. Often they view women as like not people, and they basically create cults. I mean, like the Catholic Church is the biggest church, has roots in all over the world, and it's very, very effective at control. It's very effective at control, and that's my problem with it. I've actually made up my own religion based on grammar, as in linguistics. Nice. They believe in the idea of gifts and speaking in tongues. Oh. I went to a Unitarian Universalist church when I was a kid, and it was nothing like this at all. Yeah, like, I used to be, put into a church with, like, youth groups and stuff like that. It was always weird. I always found it weird. It's just weird to me. It always was uncomfortable. Because like none of it made sense. none of it made sense. There's no proof to anything, which means it has to be made up, right? Yeah, I mean, like, it depends. It depends. Like, back then, for example, it depends on the religion. Back then, they used to, for example, the indigenous folks, their religion was just basically trying to explain, like, the world around them, right? I think pagans are also similar. Where all it is just, like, an explanation of the world around them, not necessarily, like, for example, Catholicism or Christianity, which ended up being, as Silver Knight just pointed out, a vehicle for political control. It can be. I mean, like, look at how, hey, Bread Crochets, look at how the Catholic Church established itself, right? I'm sorry, but it does have a sway in politics. I actually think many in history actually believed in their religion, maybe in history, but now, I don't know. Maybe there is enough core groups to believe it, but I'm not sure. So such a proven people made it up, just like people make up 100 genders so far, right? Made up shit. Yeah, but this may be too much, you know. If they can understand, if they can understand that, then yes, I get it. Why do you think some monarchs just didn't care about being excommunicated, but others really cared? Yeah. I don't know. But I do believe there is some truth to that. I mean, especially organized religion, such as like the Catholic Church, is absolutely, at certain points, a vehicle for political control. I think so. I believe it. I believe it. Constantine was baptized on his deathbed because he wanted to be able to do bad things and then be absolved. Jesus Christ.
But it is completely nuts to me that anybody can be Christian and then be against helping the elderly, helping children, expanding healthcare. I mean, you really have to assess yourself if you're in that camp. Now, let's go over some of what is in the Bernie Sanders, as they were discussing there, the Bernie Sanders infrastructure or the reconciliation bill. Now, they went over some of it, but some other stuff here. So it expands the child tax benefit, paid family medical leave, as I discussed, tuition-free community college, lower prescription drug costs, dental, hearing, vision, Medicare expansion, housing, home care, major climate money, immigration, lowers Medicare age, Obamacare.
Does that mean that this show is a religion now? Does that mean that you're all part of my a difficult truth religion? Because there are definitely more than two people, and they are definitely
expansion, increasing physical supply, too many climate clean energy plans to summarize here, and new revenue, including for beefed up IRS tax enforcement, which I believe is for focusing on the wealthy, because right now the IRS basically largely focuses on the poor and the middle class, which is insane. But here, beefing up the IRS would actually allow them to then focus on those that are actually stealing from the government, which, again, the wealthy. True. And then taxing the rich, taxing corporations, fees on polluters, Medicare negotiations. So you have here just this is what should be in the infrastructure, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, but it isn't because they're not going to get 60 votes on that bill with this stuff in there. So the idea here is to pass the bipartisan infrastructure plan, which also a lot of it is just giveaway to corporations.
I have to check this out, but what does we're more of a cult, but I guess we're just splitting hairs in that point. What is it that Touring News said the other day? The difference between a cult and a religion is the number of followers. Is that what it is? Does that mean I need more followers? Is that what it is? I do want to know what, quote, too many climate clean energy plans to summarize here. What does that mean? I need to look at this plan. I need to look at this plan. I need to sit down and really check this out. The big one, the budget reconciliation version. So I can assess what this means.
But that's why you have this piece of it. So progressives in the House have said they are not going to vote for the bipartisan infrastructure plan unless this passes, this reconciliation bill with 50 votes passes first, which is a great strategy. So they're actually, the progressives in the House are actually using their power, banding together to ensure that they're not going to pass that infrastructure plan without this passing first. So good on them for doing that, and we're going to see how that goes. The first step has already been done. So Senate approved the framework for the $3.5 trillion budget plan that I just showed you. So this is the first step in a much longer process. They're going to have to go back, iron out the details, and then, you know, vote on it again as a whole. And we're going to see if it ends up passing. Of course, you know, Manchin and Sinema out there right now are criticizing the size of this reconciliation plan, but they may still vote on it. So, you know, in all likelihood, nothing will get done, but there's still a chance because of the goodies that are in the bipartisan infrastructure bill for corporations, that because they want that passed, it may actually force their hand to support this budget reconciliation bill. So we're going to see how it all plays out. But just to get back to this, it is just comical to me that, first of all, they even have a news division, but that here they are, Christians criticizing, helping people. I guess I
appreciate David Dole's putting all the links in the description, because I couldn't find it. Cult also has to be a heterodox belief. A small religious group with conventional beliefs, like some small Presbyterian, wouldn't be considered a cult. Okay, so now so a small religious group. Okay, we're a small, like, religious group. Okay. With conventional beliefs. Okay. So we have to make it unconventional. Well, I mean, judging by what they said, what we believe in is pretty unconventional, right? I mean, giving people healthcare, housing, education, food. Yeah, that's pretty unconventional. Yeah. I think we're onto something. I think the difference between a cult and a religion is the degree of acceptance in society. Cult equals bad, religion equals good. Maybe. I was just doing a little bit of the memes. Alright, this is what I want to see. Let's see what's in this here. Oh boy. Stop it. Senate approves framework of $3.5 trillion budget plan that would expand Medicare, tax credits, and climate initiatives. Let's see. Cults rarely refer to themselves as a cult, true. Senate Democrats took their first step towards passing a $3.5 trillion spending plan early Wednesday as the party forges ahead with a massive economic agenda. After more than 14 hours of votes on amendments, the Democratic-held chamber voted to pass a budget resolution 5049 along party lines. The measure directs committees to craft a bill that would spend up to $3.5 trillion on climate initiatives, paid leave, childcare, education, and healthcare. Okay. I need to see. I guess the final product isn't ready, but I need to see what these climate initiatives are. The Democratic budget will bring a generational transformation about how our economy works for average Americans, Schumer said after its passage. It marks the first step in the budget reconciliation process, which will allow Democrats to approve their plan without a Republican vote in the Senate split 50-50 by party. GOP has united against proposals and tax increases on corporations and wealthy individuals that Democrats plan to use to pay for it. Imagine trying to brand yourself as the party of the working class. But oppose tax increases on corporations and wealthy individuals. Yeah. The vote for the resolution follows Senate passage of a $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill on Tuesday. Democrats see the bipartisan plan and the reconciliation bills as complementary planks of an agenda that aims to create jobs, slow climate change, and strengthen the social safety net. Okay. Yeah. That's perfectly fine. Early signs of trouble emerge for Democrats who have to keep every member of their Senate caucus on board to pass their spending plan. President Joe Manchin raised concern about the $3.5 trillion price tag and signaled he would try to scale back the final legislation. Would the scaling back be would the scaling back be the climate initiatives that were just coincidentally you oppose because it just so happens that you get weekly calls from ExxonMobil? Those? For all the landlords they're screwing with the eviction moratorium? What about the renters? Wait, what about the renters? The people actually living there. Wait. What? Given the current state of economic recovery, it is simply irresponsible to continue spending at levels more suited to respond to a Great Depression or recession. Wait. Then what is this? We are experiencing an unprecedented pandemic, which caused the entire global economy to kind of like go into shambles. The entire economy just like was in free fall for a bit there. Businesses closing, people at home. What more? Is this not an emergency? Is this not a way to boost the economy? The way you get out of this is by spending in the right areas, in my opinion. Not an economy that is on the verge of overheating. Okay. Neither bill will get to President Joe Biden's desk for weeks or even months. Jesus Christ. Time's a ticking, folks. You've got to deliver. The House will need to approve a budget resolution before Congress can craft and pass the final legislation. Balancing competing interests in her caucus, House Speaker Pelosi has said that she will not take up the infrastructure reconciliation bills until the Senate passes both of them. However, she has faced pressure from some, quote, centrists in her party to hold a standalone vote on the bipartisan plan. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer announced on Tuesday that the chamber will return from its current recess on August 23rd, about a month earlier than previously planned. Oh no! Oh no. The House will move to pass the budget resolution, the Maryland Democrats said. The Senate is to leave Washington until mid-September. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer gave committees a September 15 target to put together their portions of the bill. The resolution seeks to expand paid family leave, medical leave, make childcare more accessible, create universal pre-K and tuition-free community college. Amazing. If this passes, okay, this is great. I'm completely fine with this. Extend enhanced household tax credits passed during the coronavirus pandemic. It also recommends lowering the Medicare eligibility age and expanding benefits to include dental, vision, and hearing, which this is, I imagine, Bernie Sanders' call. True, Darknet. The measure also calls for expanding green energy. I don't know what that means. Do you mean like expanding the production of solar panels or renewables? Does that mean, I don't know what this means. Curbing climate change through business tax incentives. Wait. That's no. Consumer rebates? On what? And polluter fees. Okay. Polluter fees and making it incredibly expensive to pollute, fine, but I don't know if these alone are what we need. I suppose that as this advances, we will see what the final product looks like, what the you know, quote, expanding green energy, what that will mean, curbing climate change through business tax incentives. I don't know what that would mean or how that even comes into play. The reality is these large corporations who have known for decades that they are the cause of this should be the ones to shoulder part of the responsibility, right? I mean, like, and should be effectively made to pay for all of the damage that they have done. Just like that. Like, September 15th is not going to happen. I don't know. It's possible. I don't know. Okay, so let's see. That being said, the US calls on OPEC and its allies to pump more oil. Yeah. Cool. Exact opposite of what we need to do. US President Biden's administration on Wednesday urged OPEC and its allies to boost oil output to tackle rising gasoline prices as they see a threat to the global economic recovery. So, you know what's a threat to the global economic recovery? Climate change. Yeah, that's kind of a threat to the global economic recovery. It turns out that if you want to go down this route, it turns out that if you don't solve climate change or you don't put the necessary effort into solving this, all of these unprecedented back-to-back natural disasters that cost billions upon billions of dollars are just going to be the new norm. I mean, if you want to go down this route, how much property damage did the wildfires cause? How much property damage and how much destruction in terms of economic damage did these hurricanes do last season? Billions. Okay, and that was just the US. Climate change is a global phenomenon, which, as we saw, and it's really hard to keep track of all of the incidents, all of the catastrophes. Greece is on fire. Italy hit the record of triple digits the other day. The Pacific Northwest is still on fire. The Siberia was on fire. All of this destruction, all of this damage. We've got a hurricane pointing its guns towards us. cost billions upon billions of dollars. So, yeah. Right, and yes, Darknet, excellent point. Wouldn't decrease oil consumption also lower the price, right? Because technically, supply and demand, if there's no demand for this, it technically should lower price, if I'm correct. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So, this doesn't even make sense in any way, shape, or form. Didn't they see the last IPCC report? Yeah, they saw it, I'm sure. I'm sure they saw it. The request reflects the White House willingness to engage major world oil producers for more supply. You can't have... Listen, you can't simultaneously tell me that you want to do something about climate change while simultaneously putting forth policies in an attempt to increase our dependency and increase the use of fossil fuels. Okay? Like, you can't simultaneously hold these positions. Thank you, Memmius. It's basically that. Right, Memo. It's basically that. With environmental collapse comes economic collapse. Pumping more oil is a catalyst to said collapse. This is not rocket science. True. I mean, like, it's not hard to observe what, you know, for example, an unprecedented hurricane season looks like. Look at 2020. The Gulf Coast got destroyed by back-to-back major hurricanes. It was about 3 or 4 major hurricanes, about the category 4 and up. In Central America, entire cities were swallowed by really bad storms, really bad hurricanes, as these folks are completely unprepared. And all these mudslides that the hurricanes caused because of all the precipitation buried entire cities. I mean, I think we're all a little bit doomer, given the latest news. Given the state of affairs. Yeah, but have you considered the economy? We are, and that's the funny part. It's like, well, in a roundabout way, is that not taking into consideration the economy? Like, none of this makes sense. Politicians talk out of both sides of their mouths for a living. Their rhetoric is irrelevant. Their actions are what counts. I think there is definite truth to that, Silver Knight. I agree. So if pumping more oil is good for the economy, why isn't the same for building renewable energy? It is. It is great for the economy. It is great for the economy. That's, like, there's an entire economic opportunity for building the future. The problem is they don't care because the people who are already, has cemented their spot, the big oil companies and all this stuff, don't want to give that up. Instead of innovating, thank you, Darknet. Hey, Server Go Goody. Instead of innovating and moving forward into the future, they're choosing to stay what's safe for shareholders or whatnot. Whatever keeps an extra penny in their pocket is what they'll do. Oh, good lord. I want to see what he posts. It's probably just a troll follow. because oil isn't renewable. True. But like even then, even in renewable, even with renewables, there's like plenty of money to be made. If you really want to go down that route, there's plenty of money to be made. Solar is at an all-time, like, it's very cheap. You can, I know, one of my friends works with a company here in Florida that helps with getting homes on solar. So it's not like, thank you for the follow, Mebfly. It's not something that's like unprofitable, right? It definitely, you definitely can make money off renewables and building the future. Hey, resolution illusion. Battery production is profitable. Yeah, like all these renewables, especially like with the ways technology has evolved, there's absolutely no legitimate, like, good reason as to why we can't begin our movement away from fossil fuels into renewables. I mean, like, we have so many ways of doing this. There's just so many. Howdy. There's really no excuse except that clearly there's a lot of interest involved here. The request reflects the White House willingness to engage major world oil producers for more supply to help industry and consumers. Like, this is so backwards. Even as it seeks to mantle. Yeah, look, they even explained that here. Even as it seeks to mantle global leadership in the fight against climate change and discourages drilling at home. Like, this article is, this statement is like the summation of the Biden administration. I don't think there is. What happens to the American economy when the petrodollar doesn't exist? Or isn't the linchpin of all economies? I think it would transform, wouldn't it? Something else would transform and take its place, I imagine. We just have to wean the politicians off fossil fuel donations. Yeah. The only reason we can ward off inflation like we have is because of the petrodollar. Yes, but something else would take its place, would it not? And like, what if something like the production of renewables takes its place? I don't think you understand how deeply our money is tied to oil, and if oil goes away, you can only buy oil in. Wait, you can only buy oil in dollars. Could you have the same system for renewables? No, I don't think you can. So does that mean we're gonna have to take an economic hit for a bit? Okay. Does that mean that maybe we won't be number one? Does that mean like we'll have to cede our spot? The renewable dollar. Oh. If it's like that, then I don't know what the solution would be then, Memo. Then what do we do? Because like, it isn't an option to not. It isn't an option to not. Contain plastic, which is oil. That's where things will get tricky. Well, we have like alternatives for that. I think like we could move to something like hemp. I think we can make like all of these like quote like consumer products that have plastics with other methods like hemp. This is why Biden was a death note for us. We're now locked into doom. I mean, maybe there is truth to what you're saying. Maybe there is truth to what you're saying. I have said that we're experiencing some Weimar vibes before. I have said that based on like where things are going, I've been getting some Weimar year vibes, not knowing really the deep down of why I felt that way, but maybe there is something to that. Maybe there is something to that memo. The economy is going to get wrecked by climate change either way. True. The economy is going to get wrecked. Yes, that's right. So I don't know what we do. Not doing something about it is unacceptable in terms of like what we will experience as we progress with climate change, right? Where were you on January 6th watching the tour news stream? True. This nonsense isn't... This nonsense is also going on here in Canada. Just 2 days ago, Canada's environmental minister said we need more pipelines to help fight climate change. Wait, that's not helping with climate change. That's the opposite. That's perpetuating it. Like, I understand if they mean pipelines are like the better way of moving oil. But we're still moving oil. We need to get off of that. Yeah, that's a bit TOS memo. Let me just do the TOS just in case. True. Yeah, so I don't get how they will fight climate change with pipelines. This doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any type of sense. This is so frustrating. I saw nothing. Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, criticized big drilling nations, including Saudi Arabia, for what he said were insufficient crude production levels in the aftermath of the global COVID pandemic. Explain to me how we're supposed to get ourselves out of this. And simultaneously advocate for pumping out more oil. At a critical moment in the global recovery, this is simply not enough. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, known as OPEC, has implemented a record output cut of 10 million barrels per day, about 10% of world demand, as global energy demand slumped during the pandemic, but has gradually raised output since, with cut eased to about 5.8 billion BPD, barrels per something, I guess? Barrels per day, as of July. OPEC agreed in July to boost output by 400,000 barrels per day a month, starting in August until the rest of the 5.8 million barrels per day cut is phased out. OPEC is scheduled to hold another meeting on September 1st to review the situation. Biden later told reporters on Wednesday that the United States had made clear to OPEC that the production cuts made during the pandemic should be reversed as the global economy recovers in order to lower prices for consumers. U.S. gasoline prices are running at about 3.8 gallon at the pumps, up more than $1 from last year at the time when the pandemic sapped travel demand, according to American Automobile Association. But like, there it is. But there it is. If there's no demand, it goes down. Wait. It comes down to this: until they do something about the DoD emissions and pollutions, is not actually serious about climate change. I don't think they are serious. It makes sense though, it will double the amount of oil moving through the pipeline. If they dedicate all that mining for climate change. Why is that a bad thing? It's all about money. Oil is more profitable than any form of energy. It's discouraging to see profits over survival. True. True. Canada Environmental Minister Jonathan Wilkinson said the money generated by the Trans Mountain Pipeline will help Canada pay for the climate reduction targets. How? How? White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said the outreach to OPEC was aimed at a long-term engagement to end anti-competitive practices and not necessarily to garner an immediate response. Wait, long-term engagement? Wait. Long-term engagement? The long-term engagement theoretically doesn't involve oil. wait. The unusual statement ratcheted up international pressure. It comes as the administration tries to contain a range of rising prices and supply bottlenecks across the economy that have fueled inflation concerns. Biden has made recovering from the pandemic recession triggered by the pandemic a key priority for his administration. The message also underscored the new dynamic between Washington and OPEC since Biden's predecessor Trump broke with prior practice in demanding specific policy changes from OPEC to adjust prices. Trump had threatened to withdraw military support from OPEC's de facto leader, Saudi Arabia, over output at which time he thought was too high and hurting US-based drillers. Global benchmark Brent crude gained more than 1% to over $71 a barrel on Wednesday. That is lower than the prices above $77 in early July, but still represents an increase of nearly a third from the beginning of the year. The Biden administration push for lower fuel prices grates with its efforts to secure global leadership in the fight against climate change, an agenda anchored by efforts to transition the economy away from fossil fuels towards cleaner energy sources and electric vehicles. Right. You can't tell me that you have a proposal for climate change and then simultaneously say that your long-term goals are to disincentivize like anti-competitive practices by OPEC. Like, wait, no. Biden has set a goal to decarbonize the US economy by 2050 and has paused new drilling leases on federal lands pending a review of its environmental and climate impacts. A Republican lawmaker criticized Biden for the clashing priorities. It's pretty simple. If the president is suddenly worried about rising gas prices, he needs to stop killing our own energy production here on American soil. He said Republican Senator John Cornyn, the top U.S. oil producing state. Oh, okay. Maybe. Stimulated. Yes, there are oil futures, that's true. The fact that we only get a small percentage of our oil from OPEC nations, our refineries are not set up for sweet crude. I think it's 15% that we get from OPEC nations. The administration also said on Wednesday that it had not called upon U.S. producers to ramp up output on U.S. oil production has been stagnant at about 11 million barrels per day since the fallout of the pandemic pulled it from a record high 12.3 million barrels per day in 2019. Robert Yager, director of energy futures at Japanese bank Mitsuyo, also critiqued the administration, saying, "I don't know why they aren't trying to get the US producers to increase production. The White House on Wednesday also directed the Federal Trade Commission, which polices anti-competitive behavior in the domestic US markets, to investigate whether illegal practices were contributing to higher US gas prices. During this summer's driving season, there have been divergences between oil prices and cost of gasoline at the pump. Okay. We encourage the FTC to consider all use available tools to monitor all U.S. gasoline, the U.S. gasoline market, and address any illegal conduct. Imagine wasting all this resource and time instead of like trying to figure out what we can do to get ourselves off of this. The American Petroleum Institute, which represents the U.S. oil industry, slammed the administration's action as a return to the days of relying on OPEC to meet our supply needs. Rather than requesting investigations on markets that are regulated and monitored on a daily basis or pleading with OPEC to increase supply, let's lift the restrictions on U.S. energy right away. Wait, no. Nope.
Clear language that it was not ever really said in such clear language that humans have unequivocally produced the warming that we are currently experiencing and are locked into going forward.
What we do within the time that we have. It's really important
to remember that even though it seems like a really minor increase in temperature, there are some serious widespread implications of even a 0.01% increase in average global temperature. Think about how your body feels when you have a temperature just going up a couple degrees. You really feel like your body's on fire. Well, that's really what's happening. We can anticipate increased and intense and simultaneous impacts that take the form of hurricanes and sea level rise and increased droughts, heavy precipitation events. And it's one thing to experience these here and there where we can actually deploy relief and recovery teams. But if these are happening simultaneously, we're talking about more wildfire. So the United States needs to take the lead on transitioning to fully renewable by 2050. And there's steps to take leading up to that. And so that means fully clean electricity by 2035. It's ambitious, but it's part of Biden's Build Back Better climate agenda, and it can absolutely be done if we, again, are able to pass through Congress here in the United States a reconciliation bill that really supports urgent climate action and clean energy, and incentivizing new industries to truly utilize clean energy and to make polluters pay. We do not accept pollution as a national rallying cry. We need to say polluters must pay, and those who are following up on clean energy should continue to do so and be supported. And once we are actually showcasing transitioning across sectors that have historically used fossil fuels, like agriculture, like transportation, like our electric grid, now we can showcase by example what the rest of the world can do. So we can see China do the same, so we can ask India to do the same. These countries will need to also step up.
This is painting a much this is painting the best case scenario based on the assumption that this administration is going to do something. That's all based on the administration doing something, which yeah, not too confident on that one. This is if we do something immediately. Oh yeah, no, they are doing something, just not the things that we need to be doing. There are many people who recognize the problem but don't think we can do anything to solve the problem, and therefore they're not helping at all. True. They told OPEC to increase oil production. True. Yep, we just went over that. Yeah, they are doing something, just not the something that we need. Unfortunately, we are going in the exact opposite direction. Is this FEMA camp bullshit? Yep. Candace Owens falsely claims CDC proposed putting, and here we have the clown of clowns putting high-risk people in camps during the pandemic. Right-wing media figures have reveled in ridiculing the CDC response to the pandemic, whether over changing guidelines, confusing statements, or seeming contradictions. Some of these attacks, however, are based in pure fantasy. Candace Owens, who hosts a show with the right-wing media company, The Daily Wire, I'd also like to point out, Biden's gonna put you in a FEMA camp and make you eat a bug slurry. Kofefe. True. That's what the slurry is gonna be called. Kofefe. Yeah, Candace Owens has a show on The Daily Wire, which is Ben Shapiro's show. So, if by logic, he clearly is fine with all of this. He's clearly okay platforming this. Told her 2.8 million followers on Twitter that CDC wrote a paper on putting certain people in camps during the pandemic. CDC actually put together a document to discuss putting high-risk people into camps to shield low-risk people from them. Lol. No, this is not a joke, and yes, every single person has made a reference to 1930s. It's vindicated. Oh my god. Wait, can we see this? Is this on Twitter? Wait, can we find this? Wait. Hey, how's it going, Mr. File? Have you heard about the new right-wing vaccine conspiracy theory? They think that COVID is going to turn people into zombies like I Am Legend? No, I have not heard it, but it's fascinating. Alright, let's see.
Candace Owens, it's so great to see you tonight. Candace Owens, it's so great to see you tonight.
The Obama variant.
So, you know, a lot of us have been thinking, how do we protect ourselves against this global pandemic? And it turns out sophistication is the most reliable prophylactic against COVID infection. CNN just told me.
That's exactly right. That's right. Hydroxychloroquine does not work, but sophistication most certainly does. So if you have a little bit of dose of sophistication, you can do whatever you want in this country, actually. You don't have to mask. You can see your relatives. I mean, it's funny, it's laughable, and it's also just so frustrating, and people are right to be angry. I mean, we spent an entire 2 years now, we're almost up to 2 years now, where people looked at people and said, are you a person that wants to go see your loved one who passed away? Do you want to attend their funeral? Do you want to go attend their funeral? You're a selfish human being. Do you want to watch your daughter get married? You're a selfish human being if you don't shut this down. Or were you, like I was, pregnant during lockdowns? Did you want your husband to attend your first ultrasound? You're a selfish, backwards human being. You're not listening to science.
I'm sorry, hold on. Where was that? First of all, parent knowingly sent student to school with COVID-19, exposing more than 80 others? Jesus Christ. Where is that article? Shut the fuck up, Candace.
Did you want your husband to attend your first ultrasound? You're a selfish, backwards human being. You're not listening to science. You're ignoring the science, right? We heard this over and over again being reinforced by the academia, by the media, by the elitist snobs who genuinely look over their balcony and they say whatever they want because they don't live like us, Tucker. They don't live like us. They don't.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, yeah, the elites. The elites, you know, like the heir to Swenson's and Candace Owens, who is pretty wealthy. The elites, you know. I like to think they have a room in the house where they scratch the walls to count. They just don't live like us, Tucker.
Don't care. Obama just had his media friends run cover. Say I'm going to scale it down massively. I don't care because at the end of the day, I'm going to celebrate my 60th birthday party. This is essentially what they said to the people. This is a story of the
Why is she still talking about Obama? I don't know. When in doubt, just like point to Obama or something. Climate activism is literally the whitest extracurricular activity ever. It's just something I've noted. Wait, whoa! Whoa! Can somebody point out the problem with this? Jesus Christ. These people. To be fair, Thanos... Oh, this is a Thanos is right. Thanos did nothing wrong argument. As our children being hit with the Delta variant, I would like to see how many of those children versus vaccinated. Children. Candace. Hello. Candace. Children. Children who are not eligible for the vaccine, Candace, who are being forced into closed areas in large groups, Candace. What's your take on climate change? It doesn't exist. It's overblown. She's also not researched it. Oh yeah, here it is. Here's the tweet. We found it. Underneath like 10 layers of more bullshit. The CDC actually put together a document to discuss putting high-risk people into camps to shield low-risk people. No, this is not a joke. Yes, and every single person who has made a reference in 1930 is vindicated. Like, so, clearly, this vapid human being didn't take 2 seconds to read what actually this means. This empty vessel of a human being didn't take like 2 seconds to read what she was linking to. These are operational considerations for implementing the shielding approach to prevent COVID infections in humanitarian settings. Not that they're sending people to camps. These are the operational like recommendations. If you're in a setting of like, for example, if for example you in the immigrants camps, right? This is literally what this is about. Of shielding approach of the season run implementation in the absence of empirical data. Considerations are based on current evidence known about transmission and severity of COVID and maybe need to revised. Okay, so this is a consideration for implementing the shielding approach in humanitarian settings as outlined in guidance documented. This is focused on camps, displaced populations, and low resource settings. So it's not telling you that they're like going to move people into camps. Holy yikes. I mean, like, how, and people, like, I'm curious. I'm curious. The comments are just roasting her. Let's try and read properly, shall we? Candace, did you bother to read this article? Lamau, this entire like comment section is actually like, it gives me a little bit of this was the tiny bit of hopium I needed today. Okay, this is the tiny bit of hopium I needed today. Uh-oh. What did you find, Mono? I wish I could say the same thing for the 30,000 people liking her tweets. Yeah, true. Well, to the paranoid mind, any mention of camps is proof that they're planning to put people in them. Yeah, I guess. Which is kind of like sick, right? Because these are the people that she would be trying to appeal then to. Critical thinking in America is an endangered concept. True. Found a dude called 14 who had a sonora blah 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 in his profile almost immediately. Very good and very normal. Jesus Christ. Well, I mean, that's how they do it, right, Mono? That's how it is. Not questioning the relevance. Also, I don't believe what they were suggesting was a comparable scenario to camps in the Holocaust. Of course. Do you believe it is an accurate comparison? First of all, this is dumb. She ceded the point that they are putting peoples in camps. She's ceding the point that they're putting people in camps. That's not what this is saying at all. That's not what this CDC article is saying at all. Like, Jesus Christ. I wouldn't have a problem with relocating people who refuse to get vaccinated. Well, we don't know, and how would we determine that? So that gets into boy. That gets tricky. It's double unfortunate because your average son's rad Nazi is younger and smarter than the average COVID hoax Q boomer. So it's easy for them to seem like an authoritarian. Oh, okay, yeah, so... Right. Right. Yikes, Mono. I thought they didn't trust anything the CDC... Yes, excellent point. I didn't think about that. I was too busy catching up on like Candace Owen's inability to read. They didn't trust anything. Yeah, like wait, don't you trust anything that the CDC says, or do you? Hold on. No, I'm not gonna do it. Listen, I've already like kicked a hornet's nest once. Not gonna do it again. But yes, so, I actually went to the source because, you know, sometimes you gotta check for yourself. You gotta check for yourself, right? You gotta do the due diligence of hearing it and seeing it with your own eyes, the actual lunacy that is happening here. Owen's mischaracterization of the document, and by comparing by implication the CDC to the Nazi Party, is complete kookiness. True. True. Alright, Candace. Your line of thinking? Yeah, if people... This is the, end result of your line of thinking. I'm just gonna consult my pineal gland and invoke a knowledge deity. True. They tell me if it's true or false. That's usually how we do it here. Can she write, or does she need an assistant to dictate for her? I don't know. It just seems like she just espouses... well, I think that honestly, this person is an empty vessel for whatever she is paid to say. Right? Whatever the conservative narrative that is approved, that's what she's going to tweet out, retweet, or signal boost, because that's the grift, right? That's the game, right? You're supposed to parrot whatever she's paid to parrot. I don't know if she's completely she completely knows or cares of what she's doing. This is just a vapid, empty person. I don't think she holds any real opinions. True. I know Alex Jones did that, but Tucker do that as well. Yes, Fox News, in a defense for Tucker Carlson, made that argument. No reasonable person would believe anything said on his show, because his show is pure entertainment. It is not based on like facts, or it's not meant to inform people based on like any legitimate facts or anything like that. It is an entertainment show that no reasonable person would ever believe what he's saying. Yeah. You're right, Mano. I've seen this video before. Somebody tried to be really, really smart on TikTok and show me this.
77 West 700 North McCordsville, Indiana. To address your comment, gee, it's hard to believe we're 18 months into this and still having a problem. And I would suggest the reason we still have a problem is because we're doing things that are not useful, and we're getting our sources of information from the United States Board of Health and the CDC, who actually don't bother to read science before they do this. I'm actually a functional family medicine physician. That means I am specially trained in immunology and inflammation regulation.
Wait.
They do the information from the Indiana State Board of Health and the CDC into this and still have stock 777 West 700 North McCordsville, Indiana. To address your comment, gee, it's hard to believe we're 18 months into this and still having a problem. And I would suggest the reason we still have a problem is because we're doing things that are not useful, and we're getting our sources of information from the Indiana State Board of Health and the CDC, who actually don't bother to read science before they do this. I'm actually a functional family medicine physician. That means I am specially trained in immunology.
Functional family medicine physician. Wait. 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 Oh man, this is why people seriously need to have critical thinking skills and really understand what they're getting themselves into. Okay? A functional family physician is not a doctor, nor is specialized in any type of infectious diseases like he claims to be. This guy is a quack. Functional medicine is a form of alternative medicine that encompasses a number of unproven and disproven methods of treatment. So Candace Owens is literally just retweeting stuff without... I mean, guys, like, seriously. Wait, so he's not even a doctor? No, he's not. No, he's not. This person pretending to be some type of, like, legitimate doctor, anything like that, is not. And everyone is ready to get loud. True. Like, okay, so again. Oh my god.
Dr. Dan Stock, 5777 West 700 North McCordsville, Indiana. To
This
address
guy
your
needs some
comment,
more
geez, it's hard to believe
science-based
we're 18 months
medicine,
into
true.
this and still having a problem, and I would suggest the reason we still have a problem is because we're
This
doing
is why I
things
tell
that are not
people to
useful,
list
and we're getting
all
our
three of my
sources
degrees before they
information
talk to
from
me,
the
true.
State Board of Health and the CDC, who actually don't bother to read science before they do this. I'm actually a functional family medicine physician. That means I am specially trained in immunology and inflammation regulation.
No, you're not.
And everything being recommended by the
No.
CDC and the State Board of Health is actually contrary to all the rules of science.
No, it's
So
not.
things you should know about coronavirus and all other respiratory viruses, they are spread by aerosol particles, which are
True.
small enough to go through every mask. By the way, the literature that supports all of that is in a flash drive that we presented.
I'm gonna need a source on that. I don't fully believe that. Smells like BS. I'm gonna need a source on that. I don't trust that. Something tells me that this is not true, because if that was true, then why bother? Like, what was the entirety of the plurality of studies that show that, like, masks do help prevent the spread, especially when all of you wear masks in together, right? Like, I don't buy this. Darknet tipping with 420. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. The rules of science are whatever I say they are. True. It sounded like he is trained in numerology. Oh, it's totally false. Yeah, like, I don't buy it. I feel like the consensus is that indeed it does help minimize the spread. And there are multiple peer-reviewed studies indicating the reasons why we wear masks, especially if we all wear masks.
It's been given to the secretary. As a matter of fact, it quotes at least 3 studies sponsored by the NIH to that exact fact, even though the CDC and the NIH have chosen to ignore the very science that they paid to have done. That is why you keep struggling with this, is because
I wanted
you
to
cannot
take the
make
top
these
dono
viruses
spot
go
from No
away.
Data.
The
Thank
natural
you, I
history of
appreciate
all
the support.
Respiratory viruses is that they circulate all year long, waiting for the immune system to get sick through the winter or become deranged, as has happened recently with these vaccines, and then they
What?
cause symptomatic disease.
No,
Because-
no. That's not.
Because they cannot be filtered out, and they have animal reservoirs. And this is a very important point. No one can make this virus go away. The CDC has managed to convince everybody that we can handle this like we did smallpox, where we could make a virus go away. Smallpox had no animal reservoirs. The only thing it learned to infect was humans. That's why we were able to make that virus go away. That will not happen with...
It had nothing to do with, like, massive vaccination efforts or anything like that.
this any more than it will with influenza, the common cold, respiratory syncytial virus, adenoviral respiratory syndromes, or anything else that has animal reservoirs. So the reason you can't do this is because...
Okay, but which one of these, quote, viruses have killed 611,000 people in a year and a half, or almost 2 years at this point? Hey Wiz, how's it going? It just seems like he's saying it's hard, so we shouldn't try. Correct. That's basically what he's saying. It's all useless. We shouldn't be paying attention. Cleveland Clinic published a study showing benefits from doesn't chiropractic, including authority. Yeah, this is our functional medicine over here. Functional medicine preaches the biochemical individuality of each patient, which is why one of its key features is that practitioners order reams of useless lab tests and then try to correct every abnormal level without considering or even knowing what these abnormalities mean. So they make up fake diagnoses and profit. Amazing. Yeah, that's where we're at right now. I wish I would have like taken the time to seriously look into this, because I saw a piece of this video, of course on TikTok, because TikTok is filled with yes, it's fake medicine. Hey, Opossum Shaman. TikTok is fake. Is filled with fake conspiracies, especially with when it comes to this. You Zoomer? I'm not a Zoomer. I'm just trying to be one of the cool kids, right? He goes through the video and says exactly why it's all false.
You're trying to do something which has already been tried and can't be done. Equally important is that vaccination changes none of this, especially with this vaccine. And I would hope...
What? Hey guys, vaccines actually do just about fuck all. So it's not like vaccines have eradicated polio, smallpox, which you mentioned. We have vaccinations against tuberculosis. It's just it's useless. He's talking about the same shit Joe Rogan was? Yeah. Search Debunk Dan Stock on YouTube. He goes to his video and says exactly why it's all false. We're gonna have to, if you want, send me in whispers the link and I'll post it in chat.
This board would start asking itself, before it considers taking the advice of the CDC, the NIH, and the State Board of Health, why we are doing things about this that we didn't do for the common cold, influenza, or respiratory syncytial virus.
Because these are nothing to do with what we're experiencing right now. This is all different.
And then ask yourself, why is a vaccine that is supposedly so effective having a breakout in the middle of the summer when respiratory viral syndromes don't do that? And to help you understand that, you need to know the condition that is called antibody-mediated viral enhancement. That is a condition done when vaccines work wrong, as they did in every coronavirus study done in animals on coronaviruses after the SARS outbreak.
Okay, no, whoa. All right, hold on. First, let me address that point. Why are we having outbreaks? Because people refuse to get vaccinated, even though it was said at the beginning that there was a chance, a possibility that breakthroughs could happen, and variants are a thing. Also, I don't know if he has considered variants which may cause the increase of probability of breakthrough infections. Yeah, he should know this. Why are we listening to this asshole? Because we have to dispel this horribly garbage misinformation.
And done in respiratory syncytial virus, where a vaccine used in a vulnerable individual, done the wrong way, which cannot be done right for a respiratory virus which has a very low pathogenicity rate, causes the immune system.
That's not a thing. How are we accepting this as legitimate? Wait, hold on. Wait. No. The problem is, if you actually took the time to research what the word is true. I thought it was a fake word or something, because I don't believe a single thing that he's saying. But he's actually saying the pathogenicity of the virus is low. Pathogenicity is the capacity of an organism to cause disease. No. Opposite. The pathogenicity of the coronavirus is actually high. Because it causes other complications. That's the problem with the COVID virus. Jesus Christ.
System to actually fight the virus wrong and let the virus become worse than it would with native infection. And that is why
What?
you are seeing an outbreak right now. And
Wait, he's arguing for just letting everybody get it. Small problem. That your plan would result in millions of people dying.
in fact, in that flash drive you're going to have coming to you and in the emails with 6 Extra will be a study showing that 75% of people who had COVID-19 positive symptom cases in Barnstable, Massachusetts outbreak were fully vaccinated. Therefore, there is no reason for treating any person vaccinated any differently than any person unvaccinated. You should also know that no vaccine, even the ones I support and would give to myself and my children, ever stops infection. In 2014,
That's because vaccines don't stop infections? Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm getting my terms incorrect. Wait. What is the definition of infection? Okay, hold on. I'm getting this wrong. An infection is the invasions of an organism's body tissue caused by the disease agent. Okay, so, yeah. It doesn't stop transmission. Okay. Yeah, his sources are, trust me, bro. I got you. It doesn't make a difference when you take into account individual health. Over 78% of COVID ICU patients are obese. The same high rate applies to patients. Eliminating the common cold is an irrational solution, promoting greater individual health, but not enough people are talking about that. The common cold is not this, right? The common cold is not this. Next. Furthermore, the common cold doesn't cause 611,000 deaths in 2 years. The common cold doesn't do this. This is nonsense. This is nonsense. This is nonsense. I can't speak for other countries, but in the UK it did get mentioned early on about people losing weight and trying to avoid COVID symptoms. Yeah. That I'm not disputing that. I'm saying that the common cold and trying to apply these things together is first of all ridiculous, and second of all, what he just mentioned that this virus doesn't have pathogenicity. Well, it does, because if you have like an underlying, health complication, then it will mess you up, right? Isn't that the definition of pathogenicity? No one's disputing that you should always, do what you can to eat healthy and whatever. Like that's besides the point. All right, we've spent way too much time on this nonsense. Check that link. He goes through everything. I have to believe that he knows what he's doing and is benefiting monetarily from this. Yes, he's a quack. Hey, Choke, how's it going? But wanted to say hi. Thank you so much for lurking. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Pirate Ninja. Let me post this in chat.
Brush your teeth in less than 10 seconds with this
Stop telling me to brush my teeth, okay? I brush my teeth every night.
Alright guys, I'm making a...
I brush my teeth every night, okay? Here, if you guys want to see the complete debunking from an actual doctor instead of like a rando on the internet, instead of like a talking head on the internet who knows just about fuck all about like epidemiology, how about we actually take a doctor to go through this? Fell asleep by accident? Uh-oh. Hygiene permanently ruined. True. He was trying to equate COVID to the common cold. He wasn't banned, he was timed out. If you have contentions about like the consensus of science, how about this? If you have contentions about like the consensus of science, then how about you DM me all your brilliant researched, I'm sure peer-reviewed research data showing all of this. Yes, that's right, Mono. That's how it works. Oh my god. Critical thinking is hard, folks. Don't believe everything you see on the internet. Don't believe everything you see on the internet. Please take some time to have like critical thinking and who is making this information and why they're making the said information and how. Critical thinking is good, folks. Who? Who what? I'm sorry. I don't like Candace Owens was born the same year as me. Okay, on to important stuff. Yeah, the standard leftist Twitch streamer banning free thinkers. I have my right to do my own research. Okay, so we're gonna try to get through as much of this as we can. There's about 150 pages. We're on most of the initial dozen or so. Touring News, welcome. Touring News. Hey, howdy howdy. Thank you so much for the raid, I appreciate that. Welcome everybody. It is indeed a touring raid. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Except I was in both places at the same time. Nice. Howdy howdy, I hope you had a good stream. Everybody go to twitch.tv/touringnews for some based farming, economics, climate change takes. And if you want news that isn't covered anywhere else, please check them out. Send it to me in whispers, stimulated, sorry. I rolled a d6 to decide what beliefs I'll hold for the day. Is this like D&D? And do you live your life as a D&D character? I mean, Mono is a wizard. I looked up 78% of COVID ICU patients, and this came up. And guy, I didn't ban them. The point was that he was trying to equate COVID with the regular flu, or not flu, cold, right? He was basically trying to make a false equivalence by saying like, oh well, we should just say we should just treat it like if we would a cold, right? Because like if you just like exercise, that's why we don't have to deal with the cold. Like no, that's not how this works. Hey Kevin, how's it going? Okay, focus people. I was gonna say focus folks. Human influence on the climate system is now an established fact. Cool. The fourth assessment report, AR4, stated in 2007 that warming of the climate is unequivocal. AR5 stated in 2013 human influence on the climate system is clear. Combined evidence from across the climate system strengthened this finding. It is unequivocal that the increase of CO2, methane, and nitrous oxide in the atmosphere over the industrial era is the result of human activities that human influence, and that human influence is the principal driver of many changes observed across the atmosphere, oceans, cryosphere, and biosphere. kind of meaningless paragraph. Like, yeah, no shit. Well, yeah, the problem is what people still have trouble with accepting this fact, and there's a lot of misinformation combating this this opening fact. Do you trust everything the government says? No. Wait, no. A combination of improved observational records and a series of very warm years since AR5 have resulted in substantial increase in estimated levels of global warming to date. The contributions of changes in observational understanding alone with AR5 and AR6 lead to an increase of about 0.1 degrees Celsius, in the estimated warming since 1850 and 1900. For the decade 2011 and 2020, the increase in global surface temperature from 1850 to 1900 is assessed to be 1.09, which is 0.95 to 1.20 degrees Celsius. Estimating of crossing times of global warming levels and estimate of remaining carbon budgets are updated accordingly. The AR5 assessment that many of the changes observed since the 1950s are unprecedented over decades to millennium. Updated paleoclimate evidence strengthens this assessment over the past several decades. Key indicators of climate systems are increasingly at levels unseen in centuries to millennia and are changing at rates unprecedented in at least the last 2,000 years. I just feel like they finally found something the hippies will go to war over, and that will be what we fight over next. I have no idea what that means. I have literally no idea what that means. The AR5 reported a smaller rate of increase in global mean surface temperature in the period of 1998 to 2012 than rate calculated since 1951. Based on updated observational data sets showing a larger trend over 1998 over 2012 through 2012 than earlier estimates, there is now high confidence that the observed 1998 through 2012 global surface temperature trend is consistent with ensembles of climate model simulations, and there is now a very high confidence that the slower rate of global surface temperature increases observed over this period was a temporary event induced by internally and naturally forced variability that partly offset the anthropogenic surface warming trend over this period. While heat uptake continued to increase in the ocean since 2012, strong warming has been observed, with the past 5 years, 2016 to 2020, being the hottest 5-year period in the instrumental record since at least 1850. High confidence. Magnitude of the climate system response. In this report, it has been possible to reduce the long-standing uncertainty ranges from metrics that quantify the response of the climate system to radiative forcing, such as equilibrium climate sensitivity, and the transient climate response due to substantial advances. Stimulated, thank you for the follow. 50% reductions in the uncertainty range of the cloud feedbacks and improved integration of multiple lines of evidence, including paleoclimate information, improved quantification of effective radiative forcing, the climate system radiative response, and the observed energy increase in the Earth system over the past 5 decades demonstrated improved consistency between independent estimates of climate drivers, the combined climate feedbacks, and the observed energy increase relative to the AR5. What I mean is the typical anti-war hippies, left-leaning, would gladly agree with a war for the climate now, in my opinion. What? Huh? What? This doesn't make sense. You're not making sense, my dude. For the first time in an IPCC report, the assessed future change in global surface temperature is consistently constructed by combining scenario-based projections, which the AR5 focused on, with observational constraints based on past simulations of warming, as well as the updated assessment ECS and TCR, and additional initialized forecasts that have been used for the periods of 2019 to 2018. The inclusion of these lines of evidence reduces the assessment of uncertainty for each scenario. Air quality. The AR5 assessed the projections of air quality are driven primarily by precursor emissions, including methane. New scenarios explore a diversity of future options in air pollution management. The AR6 WGI, or Working Group 1 report, rapid recent shifts in geographical distribution of some of these precursor emissions confirms the AR findings and shows higher warming effects of short-lived climate forcers in scenarios with the highest air pollutions. Hey, Grammar Socialist. Older people are actually usually more anti-war than the youth. It's a bit of a myth that younger people are anti-war. We need to preemptively strike against these hippies. If we don't fight them over there, they'll fight us over here. Stick to your government-approved facts. Wait. So just so you know, Bud, these aren't government-approved facts. These are literally an international coalition of over 14,000 scientists coming together. I won't have an opinion anymore, Supreme Leader. I apologize for my humanity. What is this concern trolling? Are you okay? Anyways. Yeah, the government is... in this case, the government is denying the facts. True. In none of these scenarios was war purported as a correct prescription to solve climate change. The IPCC literally has government in its name. It's not done by the government, okay? The IPCC is a coalition, an international coalition of over 14,000 scientists, okay? That's literally all this is a culmination of scientific knowledge and data is just coming together in one place. That's it. Yeah, hot dog has a name in it, therefore it's made from dog. True. This is the exact same logic. This is the exact same logic. Effects lived on short climate forces on global warming. The AR5 assessed the radiative force in fermented compounds. The AR6 has extended this assessment. Extended this by assessing the emission-based effective radiative forces are also accounting for aerosol cloud interactions. The best estimates of ERF attributed to sulfur dioxide and CH4 emissions are substantially greater than in AR5, while that of black carbon is substantially reduced. The magnitude of uncertainty in the ERF due to black carbon emissions were also reduced relative to AR5. Global water cycle. The AR5 assessed the anthropogenic influences that have likely affected the global water cycle since the 1960s. This dedicated chapter in the AR6 Working Group 1, Chapter 8 concludes with high confidence that human-caused climate change has driven detectable changes in the global water cycle since the mid-20th century, with a better understanding of the response to aerosol and greenhouse gas changes. The AR6 Working Group 1 further projects with high confidence an increase in the variability of the water cycle in most regions of the world and under all emission scenarios. Hey, that's an excellent retort. Amazing. Wow. You really enlightened us. You really brought it. They're not sending their best, folks. You're really bringing it today, huh? Amazing. Extreme events. The AR5 assessed that human influence has been detected in changes in some climate extremes. You really pinned them anti-war hippies, true. You really got them. Yeah, you did. That's right. It's all the hippies' fault. Mono. When the right sends their trolls, they don't send their best, true. therefore science is, yeah, like this is way beyond like divorce from reality to think that like there's a giant conspiracy between 14,000 individuals for like through over 100 countries that contributed to this is all of a sudden like what, wrong? This is the entire consensus of all the scientific community coming together in an unprecedented way. So yeah, no, you're no, unless you can give me something that supersedes that, I don't care. The AR5 assessed the human influence has been detected in changes in some climate extremes. A dedicated chapter in AR6 concludes that it is now an established fact that human-induced greenhouse gas emissions have led to a frequency and or intensity of some weather and climate extremes since the 1850. In particular, for temperature extremes, evidence observed changes in attribution to human influence has strengthened for several types of extremes since AR5, in particular extreme precipitation, droughts, tropical cyclones, and compound extremes, including fire weather. Yeah. Timing of crossing of 1.5 degrees Celsius. Slightly different approaches are used in SR 1.5, and in this report, SR 1.5 adjusts a likely range of 2030 to 2052 for reaching a global warming level of 1.5 degrees Celsius for a 30-year period. Assuming a continued constant rate of warming, in AR6 combining the largest estimate of global warming to date and assessed the climate response to all considered scenarios. All considered scenarios, a central estimate of crossing 1.5 degrees warming for a 20-year period occurs in the early 2030s, 10 years earlier than the midpoint of the likely range assessed in SR 1.5, assuming no major volcanic eruptions. The remaining carbon budget, AR5 had assessed the transient climate response to cumulative emissions of CO2 to be likely in the range of 0.8 degrees Celsius to 2.5 degrees Celsius per 1,000 GTC, which is what, giga, something per ton? Wait, GTCO2. Yeah, like, he is an advisor. That's literally what it is. GTC. GTC. No, not Gateway Technical College. I think it's grams? No. What if I just Google this? No, not Gitcoin. EM stands for Miami. Oh no. Oh my god. I need to know what this means. Oh, gigatons of carbon. Okay. Whew. A 1,000 gigatons. Okay. This was also used in the SR 1.5. This assessment of the AR6 based on multiple lines of evidence lead to a narrow likely range of 1 degrees Celsius, 2.3 degrees Celsius per 1,000 gigatons of carbon. This has been incorporated in updated estimates of remaining carbon budgets together with methodological improvements and recent observations. But yeah, sure, we shouldn't trust any of like the methodology that was carefully observed here. Likely, it could potentially be higher, correct. effect of short-lived climate forces on on global warming in coming decades. The SR 1.5 stated that reductions in emissions of cooling aerosols partially offset greenhouse gas mitigation effects for 2 to 3 decades in pathways, limiting global warming to 1.5. Hold on, folks. As the SR 1.5 stated that reductions in emissions of cooling aerosols partially offset greenhouse gas mitigation efforts for 2 to 3 decades in pathway, limiting global warming to 1.5. The AR6 assessment updates the AR5 assessment of the net cooling effect of aerosols and confirms that changes in short-lived climate forces will very likely cause further warming in the next 2 decades across all scenarios, no matter what. Temporary emissions. COVID-19 temporary reductions in 2020 associated with COVID containment led to small and positive net radiative effect. However, global and regional climate responses to this forcing are undetectable above internal climate variability due to temporary nature of emission reductions. In other words, it did nothing. SRCCL reported a resumption of atmospheric methane concentration growth since 2007. Working Group 1, AR6 reports a faster growth over 2014 to 2019. Assesses growth since 2007 to be largely driven by emissions from the fossil fuels and agriculture dominated by livestock sectors. This is very clear. Yeah, so I don't get what the, fixation is with Fauci. I don't get it. Fauci isn't the whole of CDC, and there's a consensus of data that is above just one guy. I don't get it. What is the fixation with one person? Is one person gonna single-handedly overturn the consensus of data about how X, Y, or Z works? I don't get it. What the point of even bringing this up? As long as that person is me, true. I don't get it. Is that gonna overturn the consensus on how effective masks are? Is that gonna overturn the consensus of how of how the studies of vaccines have been going? Is that gonna overturn I don't know. Is that gonna overturn the CDC guidelines? Because it's easier, yeah, to fixate on one name. Sure. I'm just curious. I don't get it. What is the point? Is my argument. And the SRCCL assessed that the persistence of the land carbon sink is... What? Oh my goodness, my work computer is going crazy. Uh-oh. My computer is now complete? Okay. I think we did it. Whew. Yeah, it's all good, my dude. I just... Listen. I do sometimes fall. To, debate bro, tactics. In terms of, me, as I'm speaking about me. So sometimes I get a little bit combative. Even though I don't know why people hyperfixate. Other countries exist. Yeah, like I get it. That's exactly my point. Like that's not gonna change like the consensus of like the entire like science or health community. Like this isn't just what the CDC says. There's like other ways of getting information. Wow, streamer exposed. True. Worst debate ever. True. Yeah, worst debate ever. We didn't start like even insulting each other. We didn't even start insulting each other, or like coming on voice chat and just start yelling at each other. I think it's because we were looking at science facts that someone said Fauci is both the science, so therefore we can't trust fact. Yeah, I think something. Yeah, the previous person tried to like make that point, but like, okay. Let me on voice eviscerate all hope left in you. No, because I think you actually will. No, I unironically think you will, because you seem to be very on point with on point with what you know about this, in terms of like climate change and like the implications of this for society. So no, I'm hard pass. I need a little bit of hopium. Did you read Desert yet? No. I just know that the person who talks faster wins the debate, so I guess I should talk as fast as I can, because then that's how I win debates. Likely be on the conservative end of estimations. Yeah, I'm going to assume, because of the terminology that's being used, right? Very likely. You know. It's like written in the terminology, right? Trying to win with logical fallacies, true. Working Group 1 AR6 find that land and carbon sinks are projected to continue to grow until 2100 with increasing atmospheric concentrations of CO2, but the fraction of emissions taken up by land and ocean is expected to decline as CO2 concentration increases with much larger uncertainty. Range for the land sink. AR5, SR 1.5, and SRCCL assess carbon dioxide removal options and scenarios. Working Group 1, AR6 finds that the carbon cycle response is asymmetric for post emissions or removals, which means that CO2 emissions would be more effective at raising atmospheric CO2 than CO2 removals are at lowering temperature. Yikes. That's yikes. Ocean stratification increase. Refined analysis of available observations in the AR6 led to a reassessment of the rate increase of the global stratification in the upper 200 meters to be double that estimated in SROCC. Projected ocean oxygen loss, future subsurface oxygen decline, and new projections assessed in Working Group 1 AR6 is substantially greater in 2080 to 29 than assessed in the SROCC. That's not good also. Ooh. Yeah, there's truth to that, unfortunately, in the online debate sphere. In the online debate sphere, I think that's pretty much like how it goes, right? I'd put something together. Yeah, I mean, like, I think this is pretty useful. But, you know, it's not in a fun, debate format. It's not blood sports or anything like that. You know, sorry, but this is just what it is. A useful debate is a discussion. Right. You know, like when we used to have debates like Chomsky and Foucault. Alright folks, it is just about to be 11:30. I do have to get going. I appreciate all of you guys hanging tight here with me. I appreciate Touring News. I appreciate Touring News for the massive raid. Thank you so much. Don't forget to follow twitch.tv/Touring News. Darknet with the 420. Stimulated with the follow, Mebfly with the follow, Silver Knight Dragon. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you guys for all the support. And if you guys enjoy the content, don't forget we are here Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time. Saturdays for Saturday Saturdays. We'll probably have to keep going on this because we've got 100 and something pages to go. We will do this. We will get through this. I am going to do the entire 150 something pages. So stay tuned. And as always, please stay safe. Thanks for the stream. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you, Darknet. Thank you, Mono. Not necessarily you can have a discussion while outside the stream. That's no debate. Maybe. I appreciate you guys. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys. Ooh. Sorry. In the next stream. See ya. Alright, hang tight with me, folks. See if we can, Twitch.tv/SurferGoGatey. Don't forget. Leaplop Ben. Let's do that. Have a great day. You have a great day. Oh, they're watching Majority Report. Alright, let's do it. Alright, folks. Hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.